Illinois looks ordinary in the daylight. Flat stretches of farmland that seem to go on forever. Long, quiet roads cutting through cornfields. Small towns where everyone knows everyone. And nothing ever really changes. But that's just the surface. Because when the sun goes down, Illinois feels different. The roads get a little too empty. The silence gets a little too loud. And people start noticing things they can't explain. Footsteps echoing through empty buildings. Figures standing just off the shoulder of the road, watching, waiting. Places here where something doesn't move on. Places where the past lingers a little too long and a little too close. And if you ask the right people who have seen it for themselves, they'll tell you this. Sometimes it's not just ghosts. Sometimes it's something with glowing eyes, still out there in the dark, still hunting. Welcome back to Hexes, Haunts, and Howls. I'm your host, Cupcake. Today is episode 13 of A through Z of Haunted America, a series where we explore the strange, eerie, and mysterious corners of America. Tonight, we're in Illinois, a state known for its deep roots, its quiet towns, and a history that runs far darker than most people realize. Because beneath the farmland and city streets, Illinois holds on to its past. Tragedies that were never fully laid to rest. Stories that refuse to fade. And urban legends that have been whispered for generations. Because too many people have experienced them for themselves. From restless spirits to something far less explainable, Illinois just isn't haunted. It's active. They say if you're driving down Archer Avenue late at night, you might see her. A girl standing just off the road, alone. Most people wouldn't stop, not at that hour, on a stretch of road that quiet. But the ones who do, the ones that feel that pull to slow down, to roll the window down, they're the ones who meet her. She looks normal at first. Blonde hair, a white dress, soft-spoken, calm, maybe even a little distant. She doesn't act scared, even though she's standing alone in the dark. If anything, she seems tired. When they ask if she needs help, she usually gives a simple answer. Can you take me home? And they do. She climbs into the passenger seat, careful and quiet, and shuts the door. And almost immediately, something feels off. The temperature drops, not gradually, not subtle, just cold. Like the heat's been shut off completely. Like something else just entered the car with her. The driver will glance over, maybe trying to make conversation, ask where she's coming from, where she needs to go. Sometimes she gives an address. Sometimes she just says, I'll tell you where to turn. But no matter what, the ride is always the same. Quiet. Too quiet. She doesn't fidget, doesn't look around, doesn't check her phone. She just sits there, facing forward, hands folded, like she's done this before. Like she's done this a lot. As they drive further down Archer Avenue, the feeling gets heavier. That cold doesn't go away. It settles in. It sinks into the seats, into the air, into them. And then she speaks again. Here. The driver slows. Because up ahead, there's nothing but a cemetery. Tall gates, iron bars, darkness stretching beyond them. Resurrection Cemetery. Some drivers hesitate. Some even laugh a little, thinking it's a joke. "This is it?" they ask. But when they turn to look at her, she's already gone. No door opening, no sound, no movement, just gone. And that's when the panic hits, because the passenger door is still closed, locked, and the seat beside them is empty, but colder than the rest of the car. Cold enough to leave a chill that doesn't fade for hours. Some don't even drive away right away. They just sit there, trying to make sense of it, trying to convince themselves there's a logical explanation, until they notice something else: the gate. There have been reports, more than a few, of the cemetery gate bearing marks, handprints, pressed into the metal like someone grabbed it hard enough to leave an impression. As if she made it home. As if she's always made it home. People have been seeing her for decades. Different drivers, different years, same story. Same girl, same road, same ending. And no one knows who she was for sure. Some say she died in a car accident nearby. Others believe she was leaving a dance hall, heading home, and never made it. But whatever happened, she's still trying to get there. Still walking that road. Still stepping into cars with strangers who don't realize they're not giving someone a ride. They're picking up something that never left. And maybe that's the most unsettling part, isn't how she disappears. It's how real she feels while she's there. Like she's not trying to scare anyone. She's just trying to go home. Over and over and over again. There's a place just outside the city where the road narrows, the trees close in, and the air starts to feel heavier with every step forward. Most people don't stumble onto it by accident. You have to know where you're going, or something has to lead you there. Tucked deep in the woods, hidden behind overgrowth and silence, sits Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Small, isolated, easy to miss if you don't know what you're looking for. But the people who do find it rarely forget it. Because this isn't just another old cemetery. It's been called one of the most haunted places in America. And when you stand there, really stand there, long enough to feel it, you start to understand why. At first, it doesn't look like much. Cracked headstones, sunken graves, twisting up through the earth like they've been there longer than the cemetery itself. Nature has started to reclaim it, slowly pulling it back into the ground. But there's something else too. A stillness. Not peaceful, not calm, but watching. People who visit Bachelor's Grove often say the same thing. It feels like you're not alone, even when you know you are. And then, the sightings start. Not shadows, not quick flashes in the corner of your eye. Full figures. People have reported seeing entire apparitions walking between the graves. Clear enough to make out clothing, posture, even expressions. Figures that don't vanish right away, but move with intention, like they belong there. Like they're aware you're there. And sometimes they get closer. There are stories of visitors hearing footsteps behind them, matching their pace. Slow, measured, just far enough away that you can't quite see who or what is making them. Until you turn around and there's no one there. Then there's the farmhouse, or what used to be one. Years ago, a house stood near the cemetery. It's long gone now, collapsed, erased, and nothing left but open space. But people still see it. Late at night, through the trees, a structure appears where nothing should be. Lights glowing faintly from inside, a shape where there should only be darkness. And just as quickly as it appears, it's gone. Like it was never there at all. But the most well-known encounter, the one that still gets talked about, is the woman. Visitors have seen her sitting quietly on a gravestone, dressed in white, still, calm, almost peaceful. She doesn't react right away, doesn't acknowledge anyone noticing her. She just sits there, like she's waiting. And then, without warning, she disappears. Not fading, not walking away, just gone. As if something hit a switch and she was never there. There's even a photograph, one that's been passed around for years. A woman in white, seated on a grave, clear as day. No blur, no distortion, just a presence that shouldn't exist, captured away. And that's what makes Bachelor's Grove different. This doesn't feel like echoes of the past playing over and over again. It doesn't feel residential. It feels responsive, aware. Like whatever is there knows when it's being watched and chooses when to be seen. People don't just leave with stories. They leave with a feeling that something noticed them, followed them, maybe even waited until they were gone to move again. Because in a place like Bachelor's Grove, you're not just visiting the dead. You're stepping into something that might still be very much alive. 1973, something moved through a small town in Illinois. And whatever it wasn't a ghost. Because ghosts don't leave footprints. They don't scratch at doors. And they definitely don't scream. The town was Enfield. Quiet, full. The kind of place where nothing unusual ever really happens. Until it does. It started with the sound. Late at night, people began hearing something outside their homes. Not footsteps exactly. Heavier than that. Uneven. Like something moving in a way that didn't quite match anything familiar. Then came the scratching. At doors, at walls, along the sides of the houses. And then, the screams. High-pitched, almost human, but wrong. Too sharp, too drawn out, echoing through the fields in a way that made it impossible to tell how far away it actually was. People started staying inside, locking doors earlier, turning off lights, watching their windows. But it didn't stop. Because whatever was out there wasn't afraid to get close. The first real sighting came from a family who heard something outside their home one night. When they looked, they expected maybe an animal, a stray dog, a raccoon, something explainable. What they saw instead didn't make sense. A creature, roughly the size of a child, gray skin stretched tightly over its body, short arms, almost too short to be useful, and legs, not 2, 3. It moved in a strange, jerking motion, like it was struggling to balance, but still fast, fast enough to cross their yard in seconds. And its eyes, glowing, not reflecting light, glowing. The kind of glow you don't forget once you've seen it. When they tried to scare it off, it didn't run right away. It stood there for a moment, watching them back, like it was deciding something. Then it let out that scream and disappeared into the darkness. Word spread fast after that. Other people came forward. More sightings, same description, same sounds, same feeling. That whatever this thing was, it wasn't just passing through. It was moving through the town, watching, testing. There were reports of it trying to get into homes. Claw marks found on doors and windows. Something hitting the sides of the houses in the middle of the night, hard enough to wake the entire family. Then came the footprints. 3-toed tracks, found in soft ground near homes and along roads, not matching any known animal in the area. Too large for anything normal, too strange to ignore. Even law enforcement got involved. An officer responded to reports and saw something himself. Something moving through the darkness near the edge of town. He later described it as unnatural, not like any animal he'd encountered before. And that is where it gets harder to dismiss. Because this wasn't just one person. It wasn't one story. It was an entire pattern. Multiple witnesses. Consistent descriptions. Physical evidence left behind. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The sightings faded. The sounds disappeared. The tracks were no longer found. Whatever had been moving through Enfield was gone. No explanation. No capture, well, verified. No clear answer to what it was. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. Because this didn't feel like something tied to a place. Like a spirit stuck replaying the past. This felt alive. Something that came into this town, moved through it, and then chose to leave. Which raises a question no one's ever been able to answer. Where did it go? And more importantly, what would have happened if it decided to stay? Most people think of the Mothman as a story tied to one place. One bridge, one town, one tragedy. But what if it didn't stay there? What if it moved? Because starting around 2011, something began appearing over Chicago. And unlike a lot of urban legends, this one didn't fade. It multiplied. Sightings started coming in from different parts of the city. Different people, different backgrounds. No connection to each other, except for what they all claimed to see. A figure, tall, human-shaped, but not human. Wings stretch wide from its back, too large to belong to anything that should be able to fly. And its eyes, bright red, glowing in a way that didn't look like reflection, didn't look like light hitting them. They looked like they were generating it. People reported seeing it near O'Hare Airport, standing near the edges of runways, or lifting into the air with no visible effort. No sound of flapping wings, just rising. Others saw it over highways, hovering above traffic late at night, keeping pace with cars before suddenly verging off into the darkness, gone in seconds. And then there were the rooftop sightings. Witnesses looking up or out their windows and locking eyes with something perched above them, watching the city from above like it was studying it, like it had been there longer than anyone realized. At first, it sounded like isolated incidences, easy to dismiss, misidentifications, birds, drones, shadows playing tricks. But the reports kept coming. Dozens, then more. Descriptions that matched too closely. Details that lined up in ways that shouldn't happen if people were just imagining things. And that's when the theories started. Some people believed it's a government experiment, something engineered, tested in major cities where sightings could be explained away, written off, buried under noise and distraction. Others think it's not from here at all. An interdimensional being, something slipping in and out of our reality, only visible for moments at a time. And then there's the theory that unsettles people the most, because it connects back to the original Mothman. The idea that it isn't just a creature, it's a warning, an omen. In Point Pleasant, sightings were followed by disaster. The collapse of the Silver Bridge. Lives were lost. A tragedy that seemed to come out of nowhere, except for the people who had already seen something coming. So when people in Chicago started seeing the same kind of figure, the same glowing eyes, the same silent, watching presence, the question wasn't just, what is it? It became, what does it mean? Because sightings haven't stopped. They are still being reported. People still claim to see it near the airport, over highways, on rooftops, watching, waiting. And maybe the most unsettling part is this. Nothing has happened yet. No single event to tie it to. No clear reason for it to be there. Just a pattern of appearances that continues with no explanation. Which leaves one possibility sitting just beneath the surface. What if it's not random? What if it's not just passing through? What if it's still here because it's waiting for something that hasn't happened yet? Before we close out Illinois, there are a couple more places worth mentioning. Places that may not get as much attention, but carry their own kind of weight. First, there's Alton State Hospital, an old psychiatric facility with a long, heavy history. Stories from inside describe mistreatment, overcrowding, and patients who were never truly cared for, only contained. People who have been near the grounds say the energy feels wrong the moment you step close. Like something is pressing in on you, watching. There are reports of voices echoing from the halls, doors slamming when no one is there, and shadow figures moving where nothing should be. Some believe the spirits aren't just lingering. They're restless. And they don't want to be ignored. Then, there's Cahokia Mounds. At first glance, it doesn't seem like it belongs on a list like this. Just large, grassy mounds rising out of the earth. But this was once one of the largest and most advanced ancient cities in North America, long before modern Illinois ever existed. And something about that history still lingers. People have reported seeing strange lights hovering over the mounds at night, sudden drops in temperature, the feeling of being watched, even in open air. Some visitors say electronics glitch and die unexpectedly. Others describe hearing distant sounds, like movements, like voices, when no one else is around. It doesn't feel haunted in the traditional sense. It feels older than that. Like whatever is there isn't tied to one person or one moment, but something much bigger. Something that's been there long before us and might still be there now. Illinois isn't just farmland and cities. It's easy to see it that way in the daylight. Fields stretching for miles, busy streets, quiet neighborhoods where life feels predictable, safe even. But underneath all of that, there are layers. Stories that never fully ended. Moments that didn't stay in the past. Because across the state, the same pattern keeps showing up. A girl still trying to get home long after her life ended. A cemetery where something just doesn't linger. It watches. A creature that moved through a town like it was a haunting and was never found. And something in the skies above Chicago, still appearing, still being seen, with no explanation. Some of these stories are tragic. Some are violent. And some feel like they're not over. Like whatever started them is still unfolding. That's what makes Illinois different. It's not just haunted in the way people usually think. Echoes, shadows, memories replaying themselves. Some of this feels active, intentional. Like there are things here that move, that choose when to be seen, that don't follow the rules we expect. And maybe that's why these stories stick. Why they keep getting told. Because deep down, they don't feel finished. So the next time you're driving down a quiet road in Illinois, or passing through a town that seems a little too still, or looking up at a rooftop you can't quite see clearly, just remember, maybe the scariest part of Illinois isn't what happened there. It's what's never left. If you have a story you want featured, you can send it to hexes, haunts, and towels at gmail.com. Again, that's hexes, haunts, and towels, all one word, at gmail.com. All stories will remain anonymous. Thank you for listening to Hexes, Haunts, and Towels. I'm your host, Cupcake. Until next time, stay sweet.